Gentlemen, in this video I would like to discuss a subject that is important to all of us, money and investments, and the way I see this subject when it comes to planning our escape from the Western world and living in Thailand full-time. Our goal as investors is to own assets with the highest capital growth, which, over time, will give us the highest income growth, which will outpace inflation. As expats, we need the ever-increasing capital amount and the ever-increasing dividend stream that will pay us an income in order for us to live well in the developing world. The question is how to structure our investments in such a way that we can eliminate entirely the need for us to manage them and to own investments in a manner in which we can sell them off or small pieces of them off whilst we're living in Thailand to give us capital if and when we require it. Perhaps to invest small amounts of our money into Thailand, say in a small business or a modest or even a humble condo. I'm from Australia, but this advice when it comes to property could almost certainly extend to your country of origin. There may be some differences, but ultimately it's the same thing. Owning property directly means it needs to be actively managed, and you are responsible for that management. You can outsource the management of your property to a real estate agent if you are renting the property out to tenants. But regardless of what you do, your property will need active management on the ground, locally, people who will take responsibility for all aspects of your property, including advertising for tenants, getting lease documents developed, responding to tenants' regular and ongoing requests for maintenance. The list goes on and on. It's ongoing work that never ends. The bottom line is that direct ownership of property is a non-diversified, expensive way to invest your money. I'm not saying it's a bad way to invest whilst you are living in the Western world. I'm just saying that it sucks up both time and money for maintenance, insurance, land tax, rates, etc. And it's an expensive way to buy and sell. It doesn't matter if the property is residential and consists of a house on land, an apartment or unit, a villa unit, land, acreage or rural, or perhaps a commercial property like an office, retail, industrial or warehouse, a showroom or bulky goods property, land or a development site. Perhaps it's a hotel, or medical or consulting rooms, or a commercial farm. Each of these types of properties has a different risk and return profile. Each generates a different level of capital growth. Excluding raw land, each has a yield or a return on investment in terms of rent. It's important to note that there are ways to own property in a diversified manner which will not cost you any of your time to manage. Let's call this non-direct property ownership. You own units in a fund which owns the actual underlying property. You can do this with businesses as well, which make up the underlying assets that the fund owns. I argue that if you're going to become an expat and move to Thailand permanently, you should seriously consider selling any direct property that you own in the Western world and place the money into what I term as mobile capital. You can think of mobile capital as any investment in which you completely decouple your time and effort from, is diversified, and importantly, allows you to sell a small piece or all of your investment and receive your money back within 5 business days at a minimum of time, hassle, and expense to you personally. As a person who is interested in Thailand or expating to the developing world, you should be very interested in how to set up your investments in a mobile capital friendly manner. You could invest your money into direct share ownership, but this I believe is something you should not do. You will be far better off investing your money into an index fund. An index fund decouples your investments from your time and will allow you to capture the total stock market return at the lowest possible cost in a manner in which you can sell off a small or all of your investment and you'll have your money back within a few days. This way, you get the highest possible return without having to spend any money or time to earn the return. You don't have to pay people a large amount of money relatively to manage your investment either. Low expense means a higher return for you. There was a book published some years back called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle. I urge each of you, my subscribers, with an interest in expating to the developing world, to read that book and take its lessons to heart. You'll be glad that you did. Now, you could invest in the Thai stock market via an index fund, so long as you're doing it from your country of origin. You may be one of the only foreigners to have ever made and taken money out of the Thai economy by doing this. It's not something I would do, but it is an option. With thanks to a Westerner in Pattaya that I had dinner with a few days ago who suggested this idea to me, based on what he said a friend of his did. And note carefully, his words to me were, a friend of his who's probably the only person he knows to have taken money out of Thailand. Reflect on those words, gentlemen, for they are words of wisdom. I had a go at creating an infographic for this video. I'm not a professional graphic designer, so please forgive the crudity of the graphic. It's important, however, as I wanted to get across what I see as the way to manage your financial life whilst you're living in Thailand. Number 1, keep your assets in your own country where you have the same advantages and legal protection as your fellow countrymen. 2, sell off any direct form of investments you have and place the proceeds into an index fund. 3, have the dividends from the index fund deposited into your Western bank account. 4, use a debit card to withdraw your funds from ATMs here in Thailand. You will note in the graphic the red line. Let's call that entrance to the casino. You cross that line the moment you get off your flight, when you take your first step onto Thai soil at Suvarnabhumi Airport. You see how there's no door? No sign either to tell you that you've just entered a casino. In the Western world, you have the rule of law. You have legal protection. You have legal recourse, and things will be dealt with fairly and evenly if you get into any trouble for whatever reason. As a Westerner, you have an advantage in your own country. So you should be using that advantage and managing your affairs in a manner in which the vast bulk of your assets are kept in the Western world. Do not sell up and invest the bulk of your money into Thailand. That's a large mistake, in my humble opinion. Let's think about the reasons why. In Thailand, you as a foreigner cannot own land. That's strike 1 for you, Farang. It's a big strike as well. That limits you to investing in a condo. That's strike 2 for you. Buying a condo means tying up your money in an investment which has little land value and little perspective for capital growth. The condo will be worth the most the moment you buy it. The building must be 51% Thai owned. You'll see your condo over time get older and older and need more and more maintenance, whilst at the same time you're not seeing your capital grow. Land, generally speaking, appreciates over time, but buildings depreciate. It's a bad deal, my friends. Make your life easier and more profitable. Rent your condo in Thailand. Now, check out these prices. This is the City Garden building where I'm currently staying in Pattaya. Note the prices for foreign name condo ownership are more expensive than Thai name. Note as well the cash flow statement from the body corporate. I found this cash flow statement stuck to the notice board in the lobby. I was amazed to see it right out in the open like that. Looks like a very pretty income the body corporate is making from these condos. I might add that many of these condos are empty, and those that are not seem to be rented to people like myself, i.e., short-term travellers via Airbnb. It's not exactly hustle and bustle here either. I rarely see many other foreigners walking around the place. Would you really like to own a condo here? Really? What about business laws? Well, in my humble opinion, why would you give someone 51% of your money for nothing? If you open a business in Thailand, it has to be 51% owned by a Thai. That means you only own 49% of your business. There are ways to get around this restriction by seeing a Thai lawyer and setting up a Thai company with a nominee shareholder agreement where your lawyers are the 51% owners and they sign off that they will not claim the business or its income, effectively making you the 100% owner. But would you really want to trust the Thai legal system? Really? There are countless stories of foreigners coming unstuck here in Thailand, even when they have followed the full letter of the law. Think carefully, my friends. You'll note in the diagram a photo of our friend Robert Briffault. His sage advice, the female, not the male, determines all the conditions of the animal family. Where the female can derive no benefit from association with the male, no such association takes place. His advice applies both to the Western world, but doubly so here in Thailand. As a Westerner in Thailand, you will be a constant target, and in the wise words of a well-known Western celebrity friend of mine in Bangkok, every interaction here in Thailand carries with it the seed of an economic transaction. You see the money tap in the graphic? That tap has a handle, and only you should control that handle. The handle is above Thailand and is in the Western world. The handle comes in the form of a password-protected login page to your Vanguard account where you have your money invested. It could come in the form of a defined benefit pension plan, an account that you have control over. You must, at all costs, keep control of that handle, my friends. You keep control of your assets. Keep control of your income. Only you should control access to your investments. You have to remember that you will be kept around by the women or the ladyboys of Thailand so long as they are able to derive a benefit from associating with you. No money, no honey, as the saying goes. You must ensure that your woman or your ladyboy has an economically good reason to keep you around long term, i.e., she derives a regular benefit financially from your association. Always remember Briffault's law. When your income comes to you in Thailand, always consider you are spending it in a casino. This country may as well be a casino for you as a foreigner. Watch yourself and proceed accordingly. I'm not saying don't open a business in Thailand, but if you do, make sure it's with a very small portion of your overall net worth, so if the shit hits the fan, for whatever reason, you are not left destitute. What's that quote from the movie Heat again? If you want to be making moves on the street, have no attachments. Allow nothing to be in your life that you can't walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner. You have to be prepared to walk and not look back if the shit hits the fan here. That's the way I see it, and I know it's the way some other Western expats see it as well, who I've had conversations with over the years. So remember my advice. Keep the vast bulk of your assets back in the Western world. Do not tell your Thai partner if you have a defined benefit pension plan. If you do have a defined benefit pension plan, you're worth more dead than alive in both the Western world and especially here in Thailand. At least in the West, it's very unlikely you'll be killed over money, but if you're here in Thailand, you're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. There have been reports of foreigners in places like Isan who have spoken to friends and family and told them that they believed they would be killed shortly. The villagers knew, and even the local police knew. I've included a link in the description to this video of Ian Beeston and what happened to him. Beeston's house, which swallowed up all of his £250,000 retirement nest egg, was described locally as palatial. In my opinion, spending the bulk of your retirement savings on a house on land which you don't own, which your bar girl, girlfriend or wife owns, is utter madness. If I lived in Isan, I would only buy a house on land if I became a Thai citizen. Otherwise, I would buy a cheap condo. Anything I purchased would be affordable to the local Thais, otherwise I would not buy it. You don't want the local Thai villagers describing your house as palatial. You want to know what the word palatial means? It means resembling a palace in being spacious and splendid. Don't give people incentives to screw you over. Finally, let's remember that Thailand has a fervent gun culture on par with the United States and has become a world leader in firearms-related homicides. That fact alone should make you cautious in a country with more guns per capita than the United States. There are over 10 million guns in Thailand. 10 million. I'll leave you with a few choice sections from that article about Beeston. He told me that he thought his wife was about to kill him, said Lamb. My feeling is that Ian had been paying for one of his daughters from a previous marriage to go to university. This year they both graduated. I just don't think he was needed anymore. She had it all. To be honest, the life of a foreigner isn't worth much around here. Back in Harrington's house, fists were clenched as the group discussed a fitting revenge for the perpetrators of the callous act. The palpable sentiment was, it's them or us. But the bitter consensus was that after all the publicity had died down, Beeston's wife would be granted bail and freed. She's got the money, and with money, cases just get dropped, said Harrington. Then the conversation turned to the future and who was next for the bullet. They agree. They know the identity of the marked man. He lives about 20 miles away and is having some major problems with his Thai wife. Yep, they chorus, for sure. Anyway, that's it from me, my friends. Till next time, all the best. I'm the Pretender.